Jeff Hardy has wrestled with substance abuse issues throughout his career, occurring multiple wellness policy violations in WWE, being arrested for drug possession in 2009, infamously turning up unfit to wrestle for his TNA Victory Road pay-per-view main event against Sting in 2011, and most recently, being arrested twice last year for public intoxication in July and for driving while impaired in October. So, on last night's SmackDown, WWE used all that for a soap opera hit-and-run storyline, implying Hardy hit Elias with his car while drunk. I see no problem with this whatsoever. After running documentary clips looking back at Hardy's career in recent weeks, reframing his dangerous driving as one of WWE's great comeback stories, Friday's episode of SmackDown opened on a developing situation in the Performance Center parking lot, where Elias was being stretchered into an ambulance. Elias can't catch a break right now. Someone's car was wrecked in the background, and eyewitness Braun Strowman telling Kayla Braxton, "I just pulled up for work and this car came flying out of nowhere, and I heard a crash and a guy just jumped out and took off running. I just hope someone catches this SOB that did this. It's ridiculous." It is ridiculous, Braun. It's incredibly ridiculous. Braun was then interrupted by police officers and WWE producers Jamie Noble and Jason Jordan, hi Jason Jordan, arresting a confused, seemingly inebriated, Renee Young's description, and rather grubby Jeff Hardy, who saw Elias being helped into the ambulance and starts yelling, "Elias! Elias!" Such emotion, much acting. This all actually seems to be a dastardly heel ruse by King Corbin and Sheamus though, who called Hardy a pathetic junkie backstage afterwards to take him out of the Intercontinental title tournament. And by the end of the episode, Hardy seemingly broke out of jail, fleeing his hit-and-run crime to return and distract Sheamus for him to lose to Daniel Bryan. Babyface move. WWE later cleared all of this up in breaking news after SmackDown, explaining Hardy had been released from custody because he passed the required sobriety tests. But that doesn't explain why he was let off for a hit and run as the car was registered in his name. It's a pretty distasteful storyline considering Jeff's past, and his brother Matt seemingly disapproves, tweeting at the same time as the story played out on SmackDown, "Just to reiterate, I'm happy to be working at AEW for Tony Khan on Wednesdays." While this is indeed in very bad taste, I was actually rather sports entertained. The blending of shoot and work, that in storyline it's the heels to blame, and best of all, the over-the-top acting had me laughing and intrigued throughout. And one of Hardy's most famous foes, CM Punk, who was watching along, agreed. Lo 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 lo, at the cop sniffing the full beer bottle that didn't get spilled, then saying, "Jeff Hardy," like he's calling bingo numbers. I'm dying. Adding the indie wrestler who played the cop deserves a slammy, and that he's currently divided. The country is on fire, and it legit made me laugh out loud for a second. So, entertained? Mission accomplished? I'm happy I don't take it so seriously anymore. What do you think of the Jeff Hardy arrest angle? And who do you think ran over Elias? Tell me Rikishi did it for The Rock in the comments below, where I'll be replying, from out of nowhere, saying it's far more likely to be multi-time attempted murderer King Corbin. This might be the kind of stuff that happens when you fire one of your top writers on the show. After the Wrestling Observer newsletter revealed yesterday that commentator Nigel McGuinness has been missing from NXT and NXT UK since total lockdown began because he was one of the many furloughs as part of WWE's mid-April cost-cutting, it's come out another backstage talent has been released from the company. Lead SmackDown writer Chris Joseph. No further details have come out with the news as of yet, so it's unknown whether he was also part of the mass firings last month or whether he had been let go more recently. It's currently assumed to be a full release rather than a temporary furlough like many of the backstage producers, meaning their contracts are suspended without pay. Joseph had previously worked for WWE Creative between 2004 and 2010, where he also played the on-screen character Big Dick Johnson. He was also one of the founding group behind Lucha Underground and was briefly MLW's co-executive producer before being rehired by WWE only late last year. Before we get on to the review of SmackDown in about 5 minutes, we've got a little announcement. To say thank you to all of you for watching us here at WrestleTalk, I'll be hosting a live Ask Us Anything stream as part of Fan Appreciation Day on Monday with Luke, Laurie, Pete, Randy, Louie and Adam, the whole WrestleTalk family. Well, we'll try to get to as many of your questions as possible. And we'll also be using the stream to launch our new Support WrestleTalk, Support Each Other campaign to help support any of you struggling with mental health issues right now. We've actually had this planned for over a month, but with recent events in the wrestling industry, we believe this is now even more vital. Click the link in the video description below to set your reminder for the stream now, while I review last night's SmackDown in about 5 minutes. As already mentioned, the show opened with Jeff Hardy being arrested for running over Elias in a car while being intoxicated, which ruled out both scheduled matches for the Intercontinental Championship tournament, as Hardy was meant to face Daniel Bryan and Elias was set to take on AJ Styles. Immediately following that angle, producer Adam Pearce attempted to control the locker room backstage and sort the situation out, which WWE managed to make feel really organic, something they often struggle with. Eventually, it was decided AJ would progress to the finals without having to compete, presumably because it was his face that built this place. Wait a second, but they're in the Performance Center, while Daniel Bryan took the babyface stance and wanted to earn his spot. So a 10-man battle royal was made, with the winner having to wrestle twice in one night, with the second time facing Bryan. Oh, Bryan, you've become everything you hate. The battle royal was paced really well and featured the returns of Drew Gulak, although we're pretending he was never really gone, and a great showing from the man that is definitely the hacker, Shorty G. Sheamus won in the end by eliminating Jey Uso. Sonya Deville faced Lacey Evans next after a backstage promo where Evans pushed over Sonya. The two actually had pretty good chemistry in a fun match, which the lame count-out finish rather undermined. Sonya took a horrible bump on the corner of the announcer's table though to make up for it. Then we got a Moment of Bliss segment with the New Day, which after some comedy was interrupted by Bayley and Sasha Banks, who were still low-key feuding with each other, as Bayley made a match between Banks and Bliss, even though Sasha was still wearing her heels. Heels. Match. Bayley heel turn confirmed. This is long-term storytelling for Banks and Bayley, but just like their previous aborted breakup 2 years ago, it's becoming repetitive. The Banks vs Bliss match itself was fun though, with Nikki Cross and Bayley getting very shouty on commentary and then costing Alexa the match with a Sasha roll-up. The two teams will face off for the women's tag team titles next week. Spinning from out of the Battle Royal, Cesaro faced Shorty G next in a very fun quick match. These two are so good in the ring, with this a mere glimpse at what they could do if given more time, and with Shorty G winning off a roll-up, hopefully that's what's in store. Up next was a clip from Mandy and Otis's vacation, which was essentially safe for work prawn, featuring Otis ripping off his top, Otis swimming, Otis getting out of pool with his hair and beard dripping wet. Oh yeah, Mandy Rose simulating ejaculation with suntan lotion. But look at Otis's big bushy beard. Otis interrupted Mandy's horny dream with a cannonball in the pool. This was very, very funny. And then suddenly Kurt Angle, from out of being released last month, announced Matt Riddle will be joining SmackDown soon, with a short vignette showing Riddle's highlights from NXT. Daniel Bryan and Sheamus reprised their classic WrestleMania rivalry for the main event, thankfully going well over 18 seconds. Sheamus looked fantastic in the longest match he's had since returning, but Hardy coming back at the end, he's not drunk remember, so it's totally okay for his car to hit someone, distracted him to lose. Which in the moment was kind of weird, because we hadn't yet been told the kayfabe police had dropped their charges, meaning the crowd cheered for someone who ran over Elias. That was SmackDown in about 4 minutes. Let me know what you thought of the episode in the comments down below. Stuff of note actually happened. This was a really fun episode, with new and exciting stories being built all over the show. The 2 hours flew by, helped along by the excited crowd, and more than anything, I'm interested in watching future episodes, and isn't that really the whole point? This SmackDown gets a smack-tastic 4 out of 5. You might know that we all do wrestling news and reviews here on WrestleTalk. Do you know about our other wrestling channel, Parts Unknown? Go over and subscribe there right now, because not only did Adam Blompier's brand new fantasy booking video go up on Thursday, our wrestling D&D series No Rolls Barred has a new episode out tomorrow, and I'll be returning to Quizzlemania 10 on Wednesday night. We also have the brand new episode of Laurie Blake's Wrestling Explained series up right now. Here's a quick look.
Whining, moaning.
Wrestling and wrestlers are larger than life, figuratively, and in some cases, quite literally. They're sculpted heroes for a modern age who battle vile villains for their honor, a championship belt, and just our amusement. And it seems only fitting for these colossal contests that the crowds would be outsized too, at the upper limit having 70,000 plus voices joined in unison to cheer the babyface, boo the heel, and count out the 1, 2, 3. Wrestling crowds kind of take on a life of their own. They have all the passion of a sporting audience with the participation of a pantomime. They're there to be played to by the performers, and in some cases, played by them. Though that isn't to say they don't impose their own will on proceedings. This vocal adulation for certain stars and vociferous dislike of others is woven into the very fabric of wrestling. It adds to the stories. It's in the pauses during promos, the slow build to a hot tag, or a countdown to a claymore. It produces moments like this. And this. And this. Moments that if you were in attendance would have left your ears ringing, but as recent events have proven, with no crowds in the arena, the silence too can be deafening. But just what is it about a lack of live fans that changes the impact of wrestling? And if that is the case, why has it been used throughout wrestling's history in some top tier feuds? I'm Laurie, hailing from Parts Unknown, and this is Empty Arena Matches Explained.